Hey, good morning. I'm Preston. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Preston.
I think I'll start off telling you a little bit about myself and how I got into in this field. Started recovery in 1987. Was lucky enough to be introduced to a wonderful home group in Alcoholics Anonymous that led me on the journey for recovery. And from there, for whatever reason, I made a decision talking to one of the people and said, maybe you get in the field of substance abuse treatment. And I said, okay. I was following directions, not really my life goal. I was supposed to be one of these captains that did ocean-going liners and see the world. That was my dream. And maybe that will still happen in a different milieu. But anyway, I started in the field of substance abuse as a tech on a unit. Started in the ground floor, went to school, got in the trenches. And I built myself up and went to school and got a license, and from that point really started opportunities opening up in different treatment programs. I have been in the field of substance abuse now for the past 23 years and have had a lot of exposure to some wonderful, wonderful people who trained me in a lot of different ways to deal with addiction. One of the goals or the clinical approaches I use, and I was discovered this or introduced to it in 1992, was the Essentials Model of Chemical Dependency, which basically says that addiction is a sick-love relationship to a mood-altering chemical. Through the process of us using, it gives such a rewarding experience that we manifest that in our human condition to repeat those rewarding experiences over and over again. And it came to light to me an understanding why that was true, because as adolescents, I met this wonderful person at 17 years old who just rang my bells. I mean, this girl was just it for me. The sad part of it, 4 years earlier, I was introduced to another wonderful experience. It was called alcohol. And through that process, that the power of the alcohol was way more powerful than the relationship that I engaged in with the individual who I think was the individual who was the love of my life. And I still remember who she is, and at times I can still remember how she smells. And the thing of it is, I can still remember all that same thing with the alcohol and drugs I used. Because the power of the chemicals was way more powerful than that relationship, I let her go. Because she was going to interfere with the relationship I was having with the chemical. So I had to let her go in order to either keep using or be in a normal relationship. I discovered through that process I'd done that through my entire life. I eliminated anything and everything that interfered with my relationship with my chemicals. And as I was introduced in that process, I used the same process in our clinical approach with addicts to help them understand that relationship process and how they get into that and how that manifests in their lives so they can begin to learn how to divorce themselves from the chemicals in the slow process and re-engage with the normal relationships we all have as human beings. And so the process of our clinical approach is to look at that, go through that process, and actually reverse that process through the use of a 12-step program. And each step, if you really look at it, and through this model, each step actually is an intervention for each one of the dynamics that go along with the Essentials model. You know, related to the psychological dependence, mental obsession, emotional compulsion, low self-esteem, rigid negative attitudes, rigid defense system, delusional processes. And our detox is what we do to be able to start that process. So that's our clinical approach that we use, and we educate our clients on that model and what that is so they can better understand the nature of their disease. Because if they don't understand the disease and how it manifests itself, then they won't understand what they need to do for recovery. So we really work real hard on helping them understand that process. Acadiana Addiction Center has been in the field now since about 9 years. It opened up in 2004. It was 4 individuals that opened that program, if I'm not mistaken. And they did a wonderful job of establishing as a disease model, abstinence-based. At that point, about 4 years ago, Acadia Healthcare took that facility and now is a part of the corporation under Acadia Healthcare. Acadia Healthcare has a number of programs out there that they work with. The Refuge, Timberline Knolls, a few other facilities that are in that. And so what I have done in the past 3 years, I came to Acadiana Addiction Center after I had been a program director at another wonderful treatment program. I've been very blessed to have met some wonderful people in here. I was at St. Christopher's for a long time, 13 years. I was working with Dwayne Beeson, who was the director there. And through that process, I left from there and came into Acadiana Addiction Center. I've been there the past 3 years. I've been really working hard in developing that program to really meet the process of recovery. And I have a wonderful staff. All my staff are in recovery. They're all based in the 12 steps. Do you understand that? And so we're a 30-day program. We really work on doing the 30-day process. The 30 days is approximately $13,000. And we also do in-house detox. Somebody comes to us, we'll do in-house medical detox. Unless they're very severe, if they're severe and needs a lot of medical treatment, we'll transfer them to a local hospital and let them do that for any kind of severe medical condition. That's 34 days, and it's $16,000. We also have an extended residential care program for males and one for the females, which is the Belle of the Oaks. The Belle of the Oaks is a minimum 3 months. We can do up to usually 6-month treatment. We have a wonderful therapist that works there. Her name is Carla Jean-Baptiste. Very good French name. And she's a wonderful, wonderful therapist. She works with the patients in that program. We kind of did life skills. It is gender specific, women only, 8 beds. So it's very, very, very intimate setting. It's along the Vermilion River. It's in about an acre, acre and a half, and surrounded by big oaks. It used to be an old school back there, and it has one of those big giant bells that you ring to let the classes come in. And what we do with our patients is, and when they get to leave, they get to go up and ring the bell that they've commenced. And it's a wonderful, wonderful place. And we work with a lot of them in reestablishing themselves into the treatment process. The first month, they're doing tons of groups. They do 2 groups a day, individual counseling as much as the patients need that. We're not really limited to 1 or 2 times. If they're in a crisis, we'll work with them all day in that process. Help them after 30 days. They can get a cell phone, a car, start looking for a job, start reestablishing themselves to get back into the community, and to really kind of learn how to live life clean and sober. And so the process is to help them transition from treatment into more recovery, begin to actually practice the principles of the 12-step program in their daily lives. They go to meetings every day. And we also have a male extended care program after the primary treatment that is 3 months. And that's usually kind of reserved a lot of times for the people that come in, our guys that coming out of the primary treatment, because we have 6 beds within our primary treatment location. So once they finish there, they come to groups still in that day process, and then they move on. We truly believe in myself that long-term treatment is what works. When they leave us, I want to get them somewhere. They need to either go to an extended residential care program, they need to be with an outpatient, they need to either be in a sober living, and at least engage with a primary therapist for at least 1 year. They have to stay engaged, and that's the process that I've learned. The more we can keep a patient or an individual connected to a therapist, a counselor, a group, or a extended residential care program, their process for recovery increases tenfold. And then, like with John, the monitoring, keeping somebody monitored for a year, 2 years after, that's what works. That's really what helps them maintain sobriety. Somebody will talk to you, have you gone to meetings? What have you been doing today? Did you work on your steps? Making sure they have sponsors, that kind of stuff. That's what keeps people engaged in recovery. And that's our philosophy. When they leave us, they need to be with somebody, where there has to be a solid aftercare plan. And it's something I strongly, strongly, strongly believe in. Now, we don't deal a lot with intense trauma therapy or some of the other processes. So when we run into an individual who we have assessed and they're having a lot of those major problems, the next step is to get them somewhere after we are able to stabilize them, get them clean and sober long enough so they can begin to process those emotions and get into those feelings. We're definitely looking to refer them to appropriate places for extended treatment, sexual trauma issues, individuals who have no connection. We have guys come in at extremely, with a lot of antisocial traits who don't trust anybody. we need to get them to somebody in a treatment program that's going to be able to work with those things, because we just don't have the ability. We're primary substance abuse. That has to be their primary diagnosis for us to come in. Once we finish that treatment, then we can move them on to the next level. So, go ahead.
Questions?
I have a comment. These folks are pretty close to where our
Yes,
facility is.
Johnny.
They do excellent work, and they're one of those programs that do the right thing for the right reasons.
Thanks, Johnny. Thanks. Well, any questions? Here we go.
Just wanted to tell everybody, if you do get down to outside of Lafayette and you have a chance to get over to Bella de Oaks, meet Carla. I mean, she is amazing, and you know when I had a chance to meet her, what came out of her was just this authenticity and care for the women who spend time there. I mean, really, it just oozes out of her. I mean, she's just an amazing human being. So, you know.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. Well,
Christy LaBeouf is our marketing developer.
Yes.
So,
Also, self-pay and commercial insurance. We accept a lot.
and network.
I kind of brought a whole lot of one thing and a little bit of everything. So if anybody needs, I have fast facts cards on the back. It lists every insurance that we're in network with.
great.
One other thing I want to share. When it comes to the insurance, one of the things that our CEO, Melanie Carville, really works well with the families. Sometimes people come in with insurance and after 2 weeks they want to cut you off, you know, and saying you got to go to outpatients or partial. We'll accept their partial insurance as part of the payment, and if the families really can't afford to do a whole lot, we waive that extra cost. We want them there for 30 to 34 days. And so we're willing to work with the insurance companies. There was one person came in, they had detox and outpatient. That person stayed with us, I think at that point, almost 60 days, just on their outpatient IOP treatment. We kept them in inpatient and provided that service to them because that's what they needed, you know, because they were severely dependent. And so we work real well on that. And so we don't worry about the money. The money's not the issue. It's about helping the individual get the type of treatment that they need. So,
On the costs, I got confused. With the detox, how much is the detox itself? How
A
many
little
days?
under 34 days, a little under 16,000.
And that
Yeah.
includes a detox?
that's $500 a day on a detox.
Well, what was 13,000?
13,000 is 30 days, no detox, $13,000.
So for both, detox and residential?
Digital is 16.
Right under 16.
That's what I
Yeah, right around 16.
$13,020 to be exact, no detox.
How much is the bell, though?
About
18,000 for
18,000
90
for
bucks
90 days.
for 90 days.
Wow.
And it's the first month is more higher. It's probably about 75, and it reduces as they reduce services. So it gets lower until I think it's probably around 3,000. If they stay longer, it stays at that price. Because then at that point they're out getting a job, they're working, they're not as much involved in as much clinical services. They still get 2 or 3 groups a week, and also individual counseling each week. So
Just bring your checkbook.
Meals
Yeah.
extended is 15. I don't think
Yeah.
we talked about that. Meals, yes, 90 days, 15
Thank you,
for
guys.
extended meals.
Thank you.